I hope you're okay with walking. Gilgamesh and Enkidu are a few strides ahead of us, and we have to try our best to keep up with them. We are nearing the cedar forest to take down Humbaba, the forest guardian. I see you brought a friend along. Welcome, I'm Daisy, your hostess. Glad you could join. We're on this expedition through one of the most ancient poems in history, the Epic of Gilgamesh. We are very fortunate that British assyriologist Andrew George from the University of London has taken the time to translate these Sumerian cuneiform tablets. He's about to reveal what's on tablet 4. If you want to get ahead with the poem, please visit the description of this video and you'll be able to use the jump link. It will take you right there. A few of you have asked me to share my insights. Even though I'm not a scholar, you flatter me with your request. It is an honor in a way, and an indirect collaboration with those at the dig site and with the scholars, who with much excitement unearthed this rich past and worked diligently to curate these words. And much honor I have now in sharing them with you. The intricacy of the literary part is not as important to me, as you and I have placed an enormous trust that the translation of these words have carried over at least 95% of its original intention. My interest is in knowing, what were these people like? What did they believe in? What was their politic and customs, and so on. Table 1 through 3 gave us insight into the main character, introduced us to Enkidu and a plethora of gods. And as we move through these next words, we are exposed deeper into the rituals and their pantheon. At our first stop, Gilgamesh performs his first ritual and pours out an offering of flour, asking the gods to bring him a dream that would reveal to him what's to come. I've come to learn that the Mesopotamian religion has a long history of development going beyond the 3rd millennium and way before the creation of the written word, which historians say that the first written words were from the Sumerian around 3400 BC. Prior to that, it appears that all cultures passed down their history orally through songs and stories. I believe if we begin with any religion today and walk backwards to its inception, we may learn things that we'd rather wish perhaps we didn't know. Or perhaps knowing these things will allow us to be more tolerant, more forgiving, and more compassionate. The early Sumerians lived in villages spread out widely and not in dense cities, and that exposure to nature offered them a theology and religion practices that had to do with more of the nature kind of characteristics, which that is reflected in the early Sumerian pantheons, including gods for the sun, the moon, the sky, and earth, as well as a number of the chthonic deities associated with growth and snakes. So it's not unusual to see some of the relics and artwork depicting gods that look like birds and lion or cows, and some even look like fish. Once the Sumerians developed a culture centered around their city-state, the character of their religion also changed. These prehistoric gods acquired human characteristics, including gender, and we have some of these gods mentioned in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Utu, the sun god; Nana, the moon goddess; An, the sky god; and Nana, the sky goddess; Enki, the earth god; Enlil, the ether god; Ninhursag, the lady of the hills; Ninatsu, the lord of healing; Ningishida, the lord of the tree, or the true tree. And I've learned that anytime we leave the comfort of our home and our laws and travel in time, not to mention to another country, it is important to remove the blinders and see the world through the eyes of that culture and also of that time period. You see, the temples back in those days were important centers of both religion and the politics because of that city structure, that city-state structure. And from what I'm learning, the temple dominated a lot of that civic life, especially in this Sumerian culture of that time. And a lot of the bureaucracy was going on as far as overseeing those daily rituals. It was like rituals every day. And also the management of the land for which, they needed to supply the ritual goods, whether it be food or the livestock. And because of the frequent sacrifices. And death was a sacred matter. And performing the proper rites was very important when a family member passed away, and it was taken very seriously. The Mesopotamians believed that if family spirits were not buried, if they were not fed, if they were not revered appropriately, they could pursue the family and cause them evil. And that was ingrained in their belief system. So there is an interesting book by F.A.M. Wergam entitled Mesopotamian Protective Spirits, where you can learn in detail the rites and rituals of the Mesopotamian folks. And it's done really nicely because it's done in the transliteration and then the translation. So I thought it was pretty interesting. Now, one of the tablets that Andrew George translated for us in this video is the funeral of Enkidu. And it details the exquisite treasures that are buried with Enkidu, and they're amazing, and the offerings, and they're made to, like, even to the staff of the underworld. Seriously, offering was made to Kwazu Tabat, and he was the sweeper of Edish Gigal. And then there was one for Ninshuluha, the cleaner of the house. There was offering made to Bibu, the butcher of the netherworld. Dumuzi Abzu, the scapegoat of the netherworld. Seriously now. In what context does anyone need a scapegoat in the netherworld? Oh, wait a minute. Would that person absolve all our wrongdoing? What a novel idea. Then I'd be like, hey, the scapegoat is here. Give him his offering and show me the door to heaven. I'm out of here. Anyway, I like to also mention that the tablet for the Epic of Gilgamesh was said to have been written around 2100 to 1200 BC. And as we read these words, we're offered insight to a vibrant community with many skilled people. So think about it. There's this so much evolution happening. The shepherds, plowman, brewer, the smith, the forge master, lapidariist, coppersmith, goldsmith, jeweler. I mean, these were some of the titles of the people that were summoned by Gilgamesh to help him prepare for the funeral of Enkidu. There's so many other little details that I'm holding back because I value the time that you give me and we're spending together, but I just can't resist in sharing one more. I thought it was ingenious when Enkidu was talking about, and you'll pay attention, you'll hear this, when he's talking about the design of the great door, because they took down a piece of beautiful cedar and they're bringing it back to town, to Uruk. And it was the first time that I've heard of a pivot door. He mentions a pivot door. And he was going to design this pivot door, and he said, quote, "Let it travel in the door jamb." So I looked up this style of door, and what an interesting design. So, are you ready? It's going to be about 30 leagues before Gilgamesh begins to pitch camp. What? Oh, you're asking me what's a league? Well, I left a link in the description so you can have some fun on your own and learn about the ancient Mesopotamian measuring system. Come, I see the peaks of Mount Lebanon. The Epic of Gilgamesh, translated by Andrew George. At 20 leagues they broke bread. At 30 leagues they pitched camp. 50 leagues they traveled in the course of a day. By the third day, a march of a month and a half, nearer they drew to Mount Lebanon. Facing the sun, they dug a well. They put fresh water in. Gilgamesh climbed to the top of the mountain. To the hill he poured out an offering of flour. O mountain, bring me a dream, so as I see a good sign. Enkidu made for Gilgamesh a house of the dream god. He fixed a door in its doorway to keep out the weather. In the circle he had drawn, he made him lie down, and falling flat like a net, lay himself in the doorway. Gilgamesh rested his chin on his knees. Sleep fell upon him that spills over people. In the middle of the night, he reached his sleep's end. He rose and spoke to his friend. My friend, did you not call me? Why have I awakened? Did you not touch me? Why am I startled? Did a god not pass by? Why is my flesh frozen numb? My friend, I have had the first dream. The dream that I had was in utter confusion. In a mountain valley, the mountain fell down on top of. Then we, like the one born in the wild, knew how to give counsel. Enkidu spoke to his friend, gave his dream meaning. My friend, your dream is a good omen. The dream is precious and bode us well. My friend, the mountain you saw could not be Humbaba. We shall capture Humbaba. Him we shall slay. We shall cast down his corpse on the field of battle, and next morning we shall see a good sign from the sun god. At 20 leagues they broke bread. At 30 leagues they pitched camp. At 50 leagues they traveled in the course of a day. By the third day, a march of a month and a half, nearer they drew to Mount Lebanon. Facing the sun, they dug a well. They put fresh water in. Gilgamesh climbed to the top of the mountain. On the hill, he poured out an offering of flour. O mountain, bring me a dream, so I see a good sign. Enkidu made for Gilgamesh a house of the dream god. He fixed a door in its doorway to keep out the weather. In the circle he had drawn, he made him lie down, and falling flat like a net, lay himself in the doorway. Gilgamesh rested his chin on his knees. Sleep fell upon him that spills over people. In the middle of the night, he reached his sleep's end. He rose and spoke to his friend. My friend, did you not call me? Why have I wakened? Did you not touch me? Why am I startled? Did a god not pass by? Why is my flesh frozen numb? My friend, I have had the second dream. Gilgamesh's relation of his second dream has not survived in Tablet 4, but the gap can be filled by a paraphrase of an earlier version of the epic, which comes from the Hittite capital, Hattusa, and dates to the Middle Babylonian period. My second dream surpasses the first. In my dream, my friend, a mountain. It threw me down. It held my feet. The brightness grew more intense. A man appeared. The comeliest in the land, his beauty. From beneath the mountain he pulled me out, and he gave me water to drink, and my heart grew calm. On the ground he set my feet. Enkidu spoke to him, saying to Gilgamesh, my friend, we shall. He is different altogether. Humbaba is not the mountain. He is different altogether. Come, cast aside your fear. At 20 leagues they broke bread. At 30 leagues they pitched camp. 50 leagues they traveled in the course of a day. By the third day, a march of a month and a half. Nearer they drew to Mount Lebanon. Facing the sun, they dug a well. They put fresh water in. Gilgamesh climbed to the top of the mountain. To the hill he poured out an offering. O mountain, bring me a dream, so I see a good sign. Enkidu made for Gilgamesh a house of the dream god. He fixed a door in its doorway to keep out the weather. In the circle he had drawn, he made him lie down, and falling flat like a net lay himself in the doorway. Gilgamesh rested his chin on his knees. Sleep fell upon him that spills over people. In the middle of the night he reached his sleep's end. He rose and spoke to his friend. My friend, did you not call me? Why have I wakened? Did you not touch me? Why am I startled? Did a god nap pass by? Why is my flesh frozen numb? My friend, I have had the third dream. The dream that I had was in utter confusion. Heaven cried aloud, while earth did rumble. The day grew still. Darkness came forth. There was a flash of lightning. Fire broke out. The flames flared up. Death rained down. And the flashes of fire went out. Where it had fallen turned into cinders. You were born in the wild. Can we take counsel? Having heard the words of his friend, Enkidu gave the dream meaning, saying to Gilgamesh, My friend, your dream is a good omen. Fine is its message. The rest of Enkidu's explanation of the third dream is lost, but this lacuna in Tablet 4 can be filled in part from the old Babylonian school tablet from Nippur. We draw, my friend, ever nearer the forest. The dreams are close, the battle soon. You will see the radiant auras of the god, of Humbaba, whom in your thoughts you fear so much. Locking horns like a bull, you will batter him and force his head down with your strength. The old man you saw is your powerful god, the one who begot you, divine Lugalbanda. The text of Tablet 4 becomes available again. At 20 leagues they broke bread. At 30 leagues they pitched camp. 50 leagues they traveled in the course of a day. By the third day, a march of a month and a half, nearer they drew to Mount Lebanon. Facing the sun, they dug a well. They put fresh water in. Gilgamesh climbed to the top of the mountain. To the hill he poured out an offering of flour. O mountain, bring me a dream so I see a good sign. Enkidu made for Gilgamesh a house of the dream god. He fixed a door in its doorway to keep out the weather. In the circle he had drawn, he made him lie down, and falling flat like a net lay himself in the doorway. Gilgamesh rested his chin on his knees. Sleep fell upon him that spills over people. In the middle of the night he reached his sleep's end. He rose and spoke to his friend. My friend, did you not call me? Why have I wakened? Did you not touch me? Why am I startled? Did a god not pass by? Why is my flesh frozen numb? My friend, I have had the fourth dream. The details of the fourth dream and its explanation are not well preserved in Tablet 4, but the old Babylonian tablet from Nippur supplies a more complete version of the text. My friend, I have had the fourth. It surpasses my other three dreams. I saw a thunderbird in the sky. Up it rose like a cloud, soaring above us. Its visage distorted, Its mouth was fire, its breath was death. There was also a man. He was strange of form, and stood there in my dream. He bound its wings and took hold of my arm. He cast it down before me, upon it. After a short lacuna, Enkidu explains the dream. You saw a thunderbird in the sky. Up it rose like a cloud soaring above us. Its visage distorted, its mouth was fire, its breath was death. You will fear its awesome splendor. I shall, its foot, and let you arise. The man you saw was mighty Shamash. My friend, favorable in your dream, this Humbaba like will be kindled upon him. We shall bring about we shall bind his wings. We shall stand upon him. And next morning we shall see a good sign from the sun god. At 20 leagues they broke bread. At 30 leagues they pitched camp. 50 leagues they traveled in the course of a day. Facing the sun they dug a well. They put fresh water in. Gilgamesh climbed to the top of the mountain. To the hill he poured out an offering of flour. O mountain, bring me a dream, so I see a good sign. Enkidu made for Gilgamesh a house of the dream god. He fixed a door in its doorway to keep out the weather. In the circle he had drawn, he made him lie down, and falling flat like a net lay himself in the doorway. Gilgamesh rested his chin on his knees. Sleep fell upon him that spills over people. In the middle of the night he reached his sleep's end. He rose and spoke to his friend. My friend, did you not call me? Why have I wakened? Did you not touch me? Why am I startled? Did a god not pass by? Why is my flesh frozen numb? My friend, I have had the 5th dream. Lacuna. Another account of one of the dreams and Enkidu's explanation of it survives in an old Babylonian tablet from Tel Harmal, ancient Sharupum. My friend, I had a dream. How ominous it was, how desolate, how unclear. I had taken me hold of a bull from the wild. As it clove the ground with its bellows, the clouds of dust it raised thrust deep in the sky, and I, in front of it, leaned myself forward, taking hold of, and closed my arms. He extricated me by force, my cheek, he gave me water to drink from his water skin. The god, my friend, we are going against, he's not the wild bull, he's different altogether. The wild bull you saw was shining Shamash. He will grasp our hands in time of peril. The one who gave you water to drink from his skin was your God who respects you, divine Ulugalbanda. We shall join forces and do something unique, a feat that never has been in the land. When the text of Tablet 4 resumes, the heroes have almost reached the forest of Cedar, and Enkidu is giving Gilgamesh courage. Why, my friend, do your tears flow? O offshoot sprung from Uruk's midst, now stand and Gilgamesh the king, offshoot sprung from Uruk's midst. Shamash heard what he had spoken. Straight away from the sky there cried out a voice. Hurry, stand against him, Humbaba must not enter his forest. He must not go down to the grove. He must not. He must not wrap himself in his 7 cloaks. 1 he is wrapped in, 6 he has shed. They, like a fierce wild bull, horns locked. He bellowed once, a bellow full of terror. The guardian of the forest was bellowing. Humbaba was thundering like the god of the storm. A long lacuna intervenes. Then Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "Have come down, and my arms grow stiff." Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "Why, my friend, do we speak like weaklings? Was it not we crossed all of the mountains? Did not before us, before we withdraw, my friend, experienced in combat, who battle, you, and you fear not, like a dervish, and change. Let your shout resound like a kettle drum. Let the stiffness leave your arms, the tremors, your knees. Take my hand, friend, and we shall go on together. Let your thoughts dwell on combat. Forget death and seek life. The careful man. Let him who goes first be on guard for himself and bring his comrade to safety. It is they made a name for days long in the future. At the distant, the 2 of them arrived. They ceased their talking and came to a halt. End of Tablet 4. Tablet 5. The Combat with Humbaba. After admiring the mountain dense ground with cedar, the heroes draw their weapons and creep into the forest. Humbaba confronts them and accuses Enkidu of treachery. Enkidu urges swift action. Gilgamesh and Humbaba fight, and Shamash sends the 13 winds to blind Humbaba and win victory for his protege. Humbaba pleads for his life. Enkidu again urges haste, telling Gilgamesh to kill Humbaba before the gods find out. Humbaba curses the heroes, who promptly kill him and begin felling cedar in the sacred groves. From one especially magnificent cedar, Enkidu vows to make a great door to adorn the temple of the god Enlil. They stood there, marveling at the forest, gazing at the lofty cedars, gazing at forest's entrance. Where Humbaba came and went there was a track. The path was straight and the way well trodden. They saw the mountain of cedar, seat of gods and goddesses' throne. On the face of the mountain the cedar proffered its abundance. Its shade was sweet and full of delight. Thick tangled was the thorn, the forest a shrouding canopy, cedar, buluku trees. After a lacuna intervenes, the text continues, though it is not completely recovered. At once the dirks, and from the scabbards, the axes were smeared. Hatchet and dirk in, 1. They stole into Humbaba. Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "What, my friend?" For Enlil. Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, Humbaba, 1-to-1. 2 garments, however, even a glass's slope, 2 climbing can conquer. 2, a 3-ply rope is not easily broken. Even a mighty lion 2 cubs can overcome. A fragment of this conversation is also preserved on a second Old Babylonian tablet from Tel Harmal, HA 2. We have come to a place where a man shouldn't go. Let us set our weapons in the gate of Humbaba, Enkidu declared to his friend. A tempest onslaught is ferocious, Humbaba. Like the god of the storm, he will trample us down. When the text of Tablet 4 resumes, the heroes are face to face with the forest guardian. Humbaba opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "Let fools take counsel, Gilgamesh, with the rude and brutish. Why have you come here into my presence? Come, Enkidu, you spawn of a fish, who knew no father, hatchling of a terrapin and turtle, who sucked no mother's milk. In your youth I watched you, but near you I went not. Would your have filled my belly? Now, in treachery, you bring before me Gilgamesh, and stand there, Enkidu, like a warlike stranger. I will slit the throat and gullet of Gilgamesh. I will feed his flesh to the locust bird, ravaging eagle and vulture." Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "My friend, Humbaba's features have changed. Though boldly we came up to his lair to defeat him, yet my heart will not quickly—" Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "Why, my friend, do you speak like a weakling? With your spineless words you make me despondent. Now, my friend, but one is our task. The copper is already pouring into the mold. To stroke the furnace for an hour? To the coals for an hour? To send the deluges to crack the whip? Don't draw back. Don't make retreat. Make your blow mighty." He smote the ground and faced him head on. At the heels of their feet, the earth burst asunder. They shattered as they whirled, Mounts Sirion and Lebanon. Black became the clouds of white, raining down on them death like a mist. Shamash roused against Humbaba the mighty gale winds, south wind, north wind, east wind, and west wind, blast, counterblast, typhoon, hurricane, and tempest, devil wind, frost wind, gale, and tornado. There rose 13 winds, and the face of Humbaba darkened. He could not charge forwards. He could not kick backwards. The weapons of Gilgamesh then reached Humbaba. In a plea for his life, said Humbaba to Gilgamesh, "You are so young, Gilgamesh. Your mother just bore you. But indeed you are the offspring of wild cow Nisun. By Shamash command the mountains you flattened. O offshoot sprung from Uruk mist, Gilgamesh the king." Gilgamesh, a dead man cannot, alive for his lord. Spare my life, O Gilgamesh. Let me dwell here for you in the forest of Cedar. Trees as many as you command, I will guard you, myrtle, timber to be the pride of your palace. Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "Do not listen, my friend, to Humbaba's words. Ignore his supplications." Humbaba opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "You are experienced in the ways of my forest, the ways. Also, you know all the arts of speech. I should have picked you up and hanged you from a sapling at the way into the forest. I should have fed your flesh to the locust bird, ravening eagle, and vulture. Now, Enkidu, my release lies with you. Tell Gilgamesh to spare me my life." Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, Humbaba who guards the forest of Cedar, finish him, slay him, do away with his power. Humbaba who guards the forest of Cedar, finish him, slay him, do away with his power before Enlil the Foremost hears what we do. The great gods will take against us in anger Enlil and Nippur, Shamash and Larsa. Establish forever a fame that endures, how Gilgamesh slew ferocious Humbaba." Humbaba heard what Enkidu was saying. He lifted his head, and Humbaba opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, "You sit before him like a shepherd, like his hireling doing his bidding. Now, Enkidu, my release lies with you. Tell Gilgamesh to spare me my life." Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, Humbaba who guards the forest of Cedar, finish him, slay him, do away with his power before Enlil the Foremost hears what we do. The great gods will take against us in anger Enlil and Nippur, Shamash and Larsa. Establish forever a fame that endures, how Gilgamesh slew ferocious Humbaba." Humbaba heard and bitterly cursed them. "May the pair of them not grow old. Besides Gilgamesh his friend, none shall bury Enkidu." Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, I speak to you, but you do not hear me. While the curses, let those curses return to his mouth." Gilgamesh heard the words of his friend. He drew forth the dirk at his side. Gilgamesh smote him in the neck, Enkidu, while he pulled out the lungs. Springing up from the head, he took the tusk as booty. Rain in plenty fell on the mountain. In plenty fell on the mountain. A different version of the slaying of Humbaba and his minions, but better preserved, is given in an old Babylonian tablet from Ishkali. Said Gilgamesh to him, to Enkidu, "Now, my friend, we must impose our victory. The auras slip away in the thicket. The auras slip away. The radiance grows dim." Said Enkidu to him, to Gilgamesh, "My friend, catch a bird, and where go its chicks? Let us look for the auras later, as the chicks run here and there in the thicket. Smite him again. Slay his servant alongside him." Gilgamesh heard the word of his companion. He took up his axe in his hand. He drew forth the dirk from his belt. Gilgamesh smote him in the neck. His friend Enkidu gave encouragement. He fell. The ravines did run with his blood. Humbaba the guardian he smote to the ground. For 2 leagues afar, with him he slew. The woods he slew the ogre, the forest guardian, at whose yell were sundered the peaks of Sirion and Lebanon. The mountains did quake, all the hillsides did tremble. He slew the ogre, the cedar's guardian, the broken. As soon as he had slain all 7 of the auras, the war net of the 2 talents weight, and the dirk of 8, a load of 10 talents he took up. He went down to trample the forest. He discovered the secret abode of the gods. Gilgamesh felling the trees, Enkidu choosing the timber. After a gap, the text of Tablet 4 resumes. Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, "My friend, we have felled a lofty cedar, whose top thrust up to the sky. I will make a door, 6 rods in height, 2 rods in breadth, 1 cubit in thickness, whose pole and pivots, top and bottom, will be all of a piece. At this point, Tablet 5 is badly damaged. A better preserved version of the episode is known from an old Babylonian tablet of unknown provenance, now in Baghdad. He went trampling through the forest of cedar. He discovered the secret abode of the gods. The wild boar knew how to give counsel. He said to his friend, "By your strength alone you slew the guardian. What can bring you dishonor? Lay low the forest of cedar. Seek out for me a lofty cedar, whose crown is high as the heavens. I will make a door of reed length's breadth. Let it not have a pivot, let it travel in the door jamb. Its side will be a cubit, a reed length its breadth. Let no stranger draw near it, let a god have love for it. To the house of Enlil the Euphrates shall bear it. Let the folk of Nippur rejoice over it. Let the god of Enlil delight in it." The next of Tablet 5 resumes for the final 3 lines. They bound together a raft. They laid the cedar on it. Enkidu was helmsman, and Gilgamesh carried the head of Humbaba. End of Tablet 5. Tablet 6. Ishtar and the Bull of Heaven. Back in Uruk, Gilgamesh's beauty provokes the desire of the goddess Ishtar, and she proposes to him. Gilgamesh scorns her, reminding her of the fates suffered by her many former conquests. Ishtar is enraged and rushes up to heaven. She persuades Anu, her father, to give her the fiery bull of heaven, the constellation Taurus, so that she can punish Gilgamesh with death. The bull of heaven causes havoc in Uruk, but Gilgamesh and Enkidu discover its weak spot and kill it. They insult Ishtar further and return to the palace in triumph to celebrate their victory. He washed his matted hair, he cleaned his equipment, he shook his hair down over his back. Casting aside his dirty gear, he clad himself in clean, wrapped cloaks round him, tied with a sash. Then did Gilgamesh put on his crown. On the beauty of Gilgamesh, Lady Ishtar looked with longing. "Come, Gilgamesh, be you my bridegroom. Grant me your fruits, oh, grant me. Be you my husband, and I your wife. Let me harness you a chariot of lapis lazuli and gold. Its wheels shall be gold, and its horns shall be amber. Driving lions in a team and mules of great size, enter our house amid the sweet scent of cedar. As you enter our house, doorway and footstool shall kiss your feet. Kings, courtiers, and nobles shall kneel before you. Produce of mountain and lowland they shall bring you as tribute. Your goats shall bear triplets, your ewes shall bear twins. Your donkey, when laden, shall outpace any mule. Your horse shall gallop at the chariot in glory. No ox shall match yours at the yoke." Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to the lady Ishtar, "And if indeed I take you in marriage, body and clothing, whence would come my food and my sustenance? Would you feed me bread that is fit for a god, and pour me ale that is fit for a king? Who is there would take you in marriage? You, a frost that congeals no ice, a louved door that stays not breeze nor drought, a palace that massacres warriors, an elephant which, its hoods, bitumen that stains the hands of its bearer, a waterskin that cuts the hands of its bearer, limestone that weakens a wall of Ashlar, a battering ram that destroys the walls of the enemy, a shoe that bites the foot of its owner. What bridegroom of yours did endure forever? What brave warrior of yours went up to the heavens? Come, let me tell you the tale of your lovers, of his arm, Dumuzi, the lover of your youth. Year upon year, to lamenting you doomed him. You loved the speckled Alulu bird, but struck him down and broke his wing. Now he stands in the woods crying, "My wing!" You loved the lion, perfect in strength, but for him you dug 7 pits and 7. You loved the horse, so famed in battle, but you made his destiny whip, spur, and lash. You made his destiny a 7-league gallop. You made his destiny to drink muddy water, and doomed Selili, his mother, to perpetual weeping. You loved the shepherd, the grazer, the herdsman, who gave you piles of loaves baked in embers and slaughtered kids for you day after day. You struck him and turned him into a wolf. Now his very own shepherd boys chase him away, and his dogs take bites at his haunches. You loved Ishulanu, your father's gardener, who used to bring you dates in a basket, daily making your table gleam. You eyed him up and went to meet him. "Oh, my Ishulanu, let us taste your vigor. Put out your hand and stroke my quim." But Ishulanu said to you, "Me? What do you want of me? Did my mother not bake? Have I not eaten that now I should eat the bread of slander and insults? Should I let only rushes cover me in winter?" When you heard what he'd said, you struck him and turned him into a dwarf. You set him down in the midst of his labors. He cannot go up, he cannot go down. Must you love me also and deal with me likewise? The goddess Ishtar heard these words. She went up to heaven in a furious rage. Weeping, she went to Anu, her father. Before Antu, her mother, her tears did flow. "O father, again and again does Gilgamesh scorn me, telling a tale of foulest slander, slander about me, and insult too." Anu opened his mouth to speak, saying to the lady Ishtar, "Ah, but was it not you who provoked King Gilgamesh? So he told a tale of foulest slander, slander about you, and insults too?" Ishtar opened her mouth to speak, saying to her father Anu, "Father, give me, please, the bull of heaven, so in his dwelling I may slay Gilgamesh. If you do not give me the bull of heaven, I shall smash the gates of the netherworld right down to its dwelling. To the world below I shall grant manumission. I shall bring up the dead to consume the living. I shall make the dead outnumber the living." Anu opened his mouth to speak, saying to the lady Ishtar, "If you want from me the bull of heaven, let the widow of Uruk gather 7 years' chaff, and the farmer of Uruk grow 7 years' hay." Ishtar opened her mouth to speak, saying to her father Anu, "Already I stored, already I grew." The widow of Uruk has gathered 7 years' chaff, the farmer of Uruk has grown 7 years' hay. With the wrath of the bull, I shall have vengeance. Anu heard this speech of Ishtar. The bull of heaven's nose rope he placed in her hands. Down came Ishtar, leading it onward. When it reached the land of Uruk, it dried up the woods, the reed beds and marshes. Down it went to the river, lowered the level by 7 full cubits. As the bull of heaven snorted, a pit opened up. 100 men of Uruk fell down it. The second time it snorted, a pit opened up. 200 men of Uruk fell down it. The third time it snorted, a pit opened up, and Enkidu fell in as far as his waist. Enkidu sprang up and seized the bull by the horns. In his face the bull spat slaver with the tuft of its tail. Enkidu opened his mouth to speak, saying to Gilgamesh, his friend, "My friend, we vaunted ourselves in our city. How shall we answer the thronging people? My friend, I have tested the might of the bull, so learning its strength and knowing its purpose. Let me test again the might of the bull. I shall get myself behind the bull of heaven. I will seize it by the tuft of the tail. I will set my foot on the back of its leg, in it. Then you, like a butcher, brave and skillful, between the yoke of the horns and the slaughter spot, thrust in your knife." Enkidu rushed round to the rear of the bull. He seized it by the tuft of the tail. He set his foot on the back of its leg, in it. Then Gilgamesh, like a butcher, brave and skillful, between the yoke of the horns and the slaughter spot, he thrust in his knife. After they had slain the bull of heaven, they bore its heart aloft and set it before Shamash. Stepping back, they fell prostrate in the presence of the sun god. Then both of them together sat down. Ishtar went up on the wall of Uruk, the sheepfold. Hopping and stamping, she wailed in woe. "Alas, Gilgamesh, who mocked me, has killed the bull of heaven." Enkidu heard these words of Ishtar, and tearing a haunch off the bull, he hurled it towards her. "Had I caught you too, I'd have treated you likewise. I'd have draped your arms in its guts." Ishtar assembled the courtesans, prostitutes, and harlots. Over the bull of heaven's haunch she began rites of mourning. Gilgamesh summoned all the smiths and the craftsmen. The size of the horns the craftsmen admired. 30 minas of lapis lazuli in a solid block, 2 minas each their rims, 6 core of oil, the capacity of both. He gave them to his god Lugalbanda to hold oil for anointment. He took them in to hang in his chamber. They washed their hands in the river Euphrates, took each other by the hand, and in they came. As they drove along the streets of Uruk, the people were gathered to gaze on them. Gilgamesh spoke a word to the serving girls of his palace. "Who is the finest among men? Who the most glorious of fellows?" "Gilgamesh is the finest among men. Gilgamesh the most glorious of fellows." Gilgamesh made merry in his palace. At night the men lay asleep on their beds, and Enkidu as he slept was having a dream. Enkidu rose to relate the dream, saying to his friend. End of Tablet 6. The Epic of Gilgamesh, translated by Andrew George. Tablet 7. The Death of Enkidu. In a dream, Enkidu sees the gods in assembly decree his doom. In anguished delirium, he pictures before him the great door of cedar he made for Enlil's temple, and he curses it because it has failed to secure for him the god's favor. He then turns his thoughts to the trapper and the prostitute, the instruments of his introduction to civilization, whom he also blames for his plight. Shamash persuades him to relent, and he returns to bless the prostitute. He has a second dream, in which he is dragged down to the netherworld by the angel of death and granted a vision of hell. After describing the dream to Gilgamesh, he falls sick. Languishing on his deathbed, he complains to Gilgamesh of the ignominy of his fate compared with death in battle. He dies. My friend, why were the great gods in council? What followed the opening line of Tablet 7 is still not recovered. The missing episode is known from a fragmentary prose paraphrase written in Hittite, which was based on an older version of the epic. And dawn broke. Enkidu began to speak to Gilgamesh. My brother, this night, what a dream I dreamed. The gods Anu, Enlil, Ea, and celestial Shamash held assembly, and Anu spoke until Enlil. These because they slew the bull of heaven, and slew Humbaba that guarded the mountains, dense wooded with cedar. So said Anu, between these two, let one of them die. And Enlil said, let Enkidu die, but let not Gilgamesh die. Celestial Shamash began to reply to the hero Enlil. Was it not at your word that they slew him, the bull of heaven, and also Humbaba? Now shall innocent Enkidu die? Enlil was wroth at Celestial Shamash. How like a comrade you marched with them daily. Enkidu lay down before Gilgamesh. His tears flowed down like streams. Oh, my brother, dear to me is my brother. They will never raise me up again for my brother. Among the dead I shall sit. The threshold of the dead I shall cross. Never again shall I set eyes on my dear brother. The text of Tablet 7 resumes with Enkidu's delirium. Enkidu lifted his eyes as though to the door. He talked with the door as if with a man. O door of the woodland that has no sense, I have understanding that you have not. For 20 leagues I sought for you the finest timber, until in the forest I found a tall cedar. Your tree had no rival in the forest of cedar, 6 rods in your height, 2 rods your breadth, 1 cubit your thickness. Your pole and your pivots, top and bottom, are all of a piece. I fashioned you, I lifted you, I hung you in Nippur. Had but I known, O door, that so you would repay me. Had I but known, O door, that so you would reward me, I would have lifted my axe, I would have cut you down, I would have floated you down as a raft to Ababara. To Ababara, the temple of Shamash, I would have brought you. I would have set up the cedar in the gate of Ababara. In its doorway I would have stood Thunderbird and Bull Colossus. Your entrance I would have placed. I would have the city, Shamash, and in Uruk, because Shamash heard what I said, and in time of peril he gave me a weapon. Now, O door, it was I who fashioned you, who lifted you up. Can I now break you up? Can I now tear you down? May a king who comes after me bear for you hatred, or hang you where you cannot be seen? May he remove my name and write upon you his own? He tore out. He cast it. As he listened to his words, all of a sudden his tears were flowing. As Gilgamesh listened to the words of Enkidu, his friend, all of a sudden his tears were flowing. Gilgamesh opened his mouth to speak, saying to Enkidu, my friend, in preeminent, do you who had understanding and reason now speak profanity? Why, my friend, does your heart talk profanity? The dream was special, great the anxiety. Your feverish lips were buzzing like flies. The misgivings were great. The dream was rare. To the one who survives, the gods leave grieving. The dream leaves sorrow to the one who survives. The great gods I'll beseech in supplication. Let me speak out, Shamash, I'll appeal to your God. In your presence I will pray to Anu, father of the gods. May great counselor Enlil hear my prayer in your presence. May my entreaty find favor with Ea, I will fashion your statue in gold without limit. My friend, give no silver, give no gold, give no... The word Enlil spoke is not like the gods. What he commands, he doesn't erase. What he sets down, he doesn't erase. My friend, fixed is my destiny. People go to their doom before their time. At the very first glimmer of brightening dawn, Enkidu lifted his head, lamenting to Shamash. Under the rays of the sun his tears were flowing. I appeal to you, Shamash, for my life so precious, as for the hunter, the trapper man, who let me be not as great as my friend. May the hunter be not as great as his friend. Destroy his profit, diminish his income. May his share be cut in your presence. The house where he enters, may its God leave by the window. After he had cursed the hunter to his heart's content, he decided also to curse Shamat, the harlot. Come, Shamat, I will fix your destiny, a doom to endure for all eternity. I will curse you with a mighty curse. My curse shall afflict you now and forthwith. A household to delight in you shall not acquire, never to reside in the midst of a family. In the young woman's chamber you shall not sit. Your finest garment the ground shall defile. Your festive gown the drunkard shall stain in the dirt. Things of beauty you shall never acquire. Of the potter, no, shall you have. No table for a banquet. The people's abundance shall be laid in your house. The bed you delight in shall be a miserable bench. The junction of highways shall be where you sit. A field of ruins shall be where you sleep. The shadow of the rampart shall be where you stand. Thorn and briar shall skin your feet. Drunk and sober shall strike your cheek, shall be plaintive and claim against you. The roof of your house no builder shall plaster. In your bedroom the owl shall roost. At your table never shall banquet take place, because you made me weak, who was undefiled. Yes, in the wild you weakened me, who was undefiled. Shamash heard what he had spoken. Straightway from the sky there cried out a voice. O Enkidu, why curse Shamat the harlot, who fed you bread that was fit for a god, and poured you ale that was fit for a king, who clothed you in a splendid garment, and gave you as companion the handsome Gilgamesh? And now Gilgamesh, your friend and your brother, will lay you out on a magnificent bed. On a bed of honor he will lay you out. He will place you on his left on a seat of repose. The rulers of the underworld will all kiss your feet. The people of Uruk he will have mourn and lament you. The thriving people will feel full of woe for you. After you are gone, his hair will be matted in mourning. Clad in the skin of a lion, he will wander the wild. Enkidu heard the words of Shamash the hero. His heart so angry grew calm. His heart so furious grew calm. Come, Shamat, I will fix your destiny. My mouth that cursed you shall bless you as well. Governors shall love you, and noblemen too. At 1 league off, men shall slap their thighs. At 2 leagues off, they shall shake out their hair. No soldier shall be slow to drop his belt for you. Obsidian he shall give you, lapis lazuli and gold. Earrings and jewelry shall be what he gives you. Ishtar, the ablest of gods, shall gain you entrance to the man whose home is established and wealth heaped high. For you his wife shall be deserted, though mother of 7. As for Enkidu, his mind was troubled. He lay on his own and began to ponder. What was on his mind he told to his friend. My friend, In the course of the night, I had such a dream. The heavens thundered, the earth gave echo, and there was I, standing between them. A man there was, grim his expression, and just like a thunderbird his features were frightening. His hands were a lion's paws, his claws an eagle's talons. He seized me by the hair, he overpowered me. I struck him, but back he sprang like a skipping rope. He struck me, and like a raft capsized me. Underfoot he crushed me, like a mighty wild bull, drenching my body with poisonous slaver. Save me, my friend. You were afraid of him, but you... He struck me and turned me into a dove. He bound my arms like the wings of a bird, to lead me captive to the house of darkness, seat of Irkala, to the house which one who enters ever leaves, on the path that allows no journey back, to the house whose residents are deprived of light, where soil is their sustenance and clay their food, where they are clad like birds in coats of feathers, and see no light, but dwell in darkness. On door and bolt the dusk lay thick. On the house of dust was poured a deathly quiet. In the house of dust that I entered, I looked around me, saw the crowns in a throng. There were the crowned heads who'd ruled the land since days of yore, who'd served the roast at the tables of Anu and Enlil, who'd proffered baked bread and poured them cool water from their skins. In the house of dust that I entered, there were the En priests and Lager priests. There were lustration priests and Lumahu priests. There were the great gods, Gudapsu priests. There was Itana, there was Shakan. There was the queen of the netherworld, the goddess Ereshkigal. Before her sat Belet Seri, the scribe of the netherworld, holding a tablet, reading aloud in her presence. She raised her head and she saw me. Who was it fetched this man here? Who was it brought here this fellow? The remainder of Enkidu's vision of hell is lost. At the end of his speech, he commends himself to Gilgamesh. I, who endured all hardships with you, remember me, my friend. Don't forget all I went through. Gilgamesh. My friend saw a vision which will never be equaled. The day he had the dream, his strength was exhausted. Enkidu was cast down. He lay one day sick, and then a second. Enkidu lay on his bed. His sickness worsened. A third day and a fourth day, the sickness of Enkidu worsened. A fifth day, a sixth day, and a seventh, and eighth, a ninth, and a 10th. The sickness of Enkidu worsened. An 11th day and a 12th, Enkidu lay on the bed. He called for Gilgamesh and spoke to his friend. My God has taken against me, my friend. I do not die like one who falls in the midst of battle. I was afraid of combat, and my friend, one who falls in combat makes his name, but I do not fall in combat and shall make not my name. The description of Enkidu's final death throes, which no doubt filled the remaining 30 or so lines of Tablet 7, is still to be recovered. End of Tablet 7. Tablet 8, The Funeral of Enkidu. Gilgamesh offers up a great lament for Enkidu. He summons his craftsmen and makes a funerary statue of his friend, and from his treasury he selects the grave goods that Enkidu will take to the netherworld to win the goodwill of the deities who dwell there. As part of the wake, a great banquet is held, and then treasures are offered to the gods of the netherworld and ritually displayed in public. At the very first glimmer of brightening dawn, Gilgamesh began mourning his friend. O Enkidu, whom your mother a gazelle and your father a wild donkey did raise, whom the wild asses did rear with their milk, whom the beasts of the wild did teach all the pastures. O Enkidu, may the paths of the forest of cedar mourn you without pause by day and by night. May the elders of teeming Uruk the sheepfold mourn you. May the crowd who gave us their blessings mourn you. May the high peaks of hills and mountains mourn you, pure. May the pastures lament like your mother. May boxwood, cypress, and cedar mourn you, through whose midst we crept in our fury. May the bear mourn you, the hyena, the panther, the cheetah, the stag and the jackal, the lion, the wild bull, the deer, the ibex, all the beasts of the wild. May the sacred river Ule mourn you, along whose banks we walked in our vigor. May the pure Euphrates mourn you, whose water we poured in libation from skins. May the young men of Uruk the sheepfold mourn you, who witnessed our battle when we slew the bull of heaven. May the plowman mourn you in his furrow, when he extols your name with his sweet yodel. May the of teeming Uruk the sheepfold mourn you, who sends forth your name with the first. May the shepherd mourn you in his sheepfold, who made sweet for your mouth the milk and butter. May the shepherd boy mourn you, who provided the ghee for your lips. May the brewer mourn you, who provided the ale for your mouth. May the harlot mourn you, who anointed you with sweet-smelling oil. May, in the house of the wedding ceremony, mourn you, who, a wife, may mourn you. May mourn you like brothers. May their tresses be loosed down their backs like sisters. For Enkidu, your mother and father, on this very day I myself shall mourn you. Hear me, O young men, hear me. Hear me, O elders of teeming Uruk, hear me. I shall weep for Enkidu, my friend. Like a hired mourner woman, I shall bitterly wail. The axe at my side, in which my arm trusted, the dirk at my belt, the shield at my face, my festive garment, my girdle of delight, a wicked wind rose up and robbed me. O my friend, wild ass on the run, donkey of the uplands, panther of the wild. My friend Enkidu, wild ass on the run, donkey of the uplands, panther of the wild. Having joined forces, we climbed the mountains, seized and slew the bull of heaven, destroyed Humbaba, who dwelt in the forest of cedar. Now what is this sleep that has seized you? You've become unconscious. You do not hear me. But he lifted not his head. He felt his heart, but it beat no longer. He covered, like a bride, the face of his friend. Like an eagle, he circled around him. Like a lioness deprived of her cubs, he paced to and fro this way and that. His curly hair he tore out in clumps. He ripped off his finery. Like something taboo, he cast it away. At the very first glimmer of the brightening dawn, Gilgamesh sent forth a call to the land. O forge master, lapidary, coppersmith, goldsmith, jeweler, fashion my friend. He made a statue of his friend. The limbs of my friend shall be of. Your eyebrows shall be of lapis lazuli, your chest of gold. Your body shall be of. I shall lay you out on a magnificent bed. I shall lay you out on a bed of honor. I shall place you on my left on a seat of repose. The rulers of the underworld will all kiss your feet. The people of Uruk I shall have mourn and lament you. The thriving people I shall fill full of woe for you. After you are gone, my hair will be matted in mourning. Clad in the skin of a lion, I shall wander the wild. At the very first glimmer of brightening dawn, Gilgamesh arose and entered his treasury. He undid its ceilings, inspected the gems: obsidian, carnelian, lapis lazuli, alabaster. Skillfully worked, he provided for his friend. He provided for his friend. Of X plus 10 minas of gold he provided for his friend. Of X minas of gold he provided for his friend. Of X minas of gold he provided for his friend. Of X minas of gold he provided for his friend. Between them, mounted in 30 minas of gold, was there. He provided for his friend. Was there. He provided for his friend. Was there thickness? Was there. He provided for his friend. Large, he provided for his friend. Of his waist, he provided for his friend. 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 Of his feet, he provided for his friend. Of X talents of ivory, of which the handle was X minas of gold, he provided for his friend. Mighty of its arm, he provided for his friend. Of which the quiver was, and the handle a talent of gold, he provided for his friend. Of his arm was ivory, of which the handle was 40 minas of gold, he provided for his friend. 3 cubits was its length, was its thickness, he provided for his friend. Of fine gold, of carnelian, rod of iron, holder, a wild bull, for his friend. He butchered fattened oxen and sheep, piled them high for his friend. Shamash. They carried all the meat to the rulers of the underworld. The great queen Ishtar, a throw stick of the gleaming wood. For the great queen Ishtar he displayed to the sun god. May the great queen Ishtar accept this. May she welcome my friend and walk at his side. For the god Namra Sit he displayed to the sun god. May Namra Sit accept this. May he welcome my friend and walk at his side. A flask of lapis lazuli. For Eresh-Kigal, the queen of the netherworld, he displayed to the sun god. May Eresh-Kigal, the queen of the teeming netherworld, accept this. May she welcome my friend and walk at his side. A flute of carnelian. For Dumuzi, the shepherd beloved of Ishtar, he displayed to the sun god. May Dumuzi, the shepherd beloved of Ishtar, accept this. May he welcome my friend and walk at his side. A chair of lapis lazuli, a staff of lapis lazuli. For Namtar, the vizier of the netherworld, he displayed to the sun god. May Namtar, the vizier of the teeming underworld, accept this. May he welcome my friend and walk at his side. For Hubibsha, the stewardess of the netherworld, he displayed to the sun god. May Hubibsha, the stewardess of the teeming netherworld, accept this. May she welcome my friend and walk at his side. He had made a clasp of silver, a bracelet of, for Kaza Tabat, the sweeper of Eresh-Kigal, he displayed to the sun god. May Kasu Tabat, the sweeper of Eresh-Kigal, accept this. May he welcome my friend and walk at his side. May my friend not, nor become sick at heart. Of alabaster, the inside inlaid with lapis lazuli and carnelian, depicting an image of the cedar forest, inlaid with carnelian, for Ninshuluha, the cleaner of the house, he displayed to the sun god. May Nunshuluha, the cleaner of the house, accept this. May she welcome my friend and walk at his side. May she, before my friend, may my friend not, nor become sick at heart. A double-edged dagger with a haft of lapis lazuli, adorned with an image of the pure Euphrates. For Bibu, the butcher of the netherworld, he displayed to the sun god. May Bibu, the butcher of the teeming netherworld, accept this. May he welcome my friend and walk at his side. With a back of alabaster, for Dumuzi Abzu, the scapegoat of the netherworld, he displayed to the sun god. May Dumuzi Abzu, the scapegoat of the teeming netherworld, accept this. May he welcome my friend and walk at his side. The top of which was lapis lazuli, inlaid with carnelian, for he displayed to the sun god. May accept this. May he welcome my friend and walk at his side. When the text resumes after a lacuna, the speaker is someone other than Gilgamesh, which we, their names, judge of the Anunnaki. Gilgamesh heard these words. He conceived the idea of damming the river. At the very first glimmer of brightening dawn, Gilgamesh opened his gate. He brought out a table of elamaku wood. He filled with honey a dish of carnelian. He filled with ghee a dish of lapis lazuli. He decorated and displayed it to the sun god. He displayed to the sun god. The rest of the description of Enkidu's funeral, which would have occupied the remaining 30 or so lines of Tablet 8, is yet to come to light. End of Tablet 8. What will become of Gilgamesh? Let's find out. I'll meet you at the next video.